Hey there, it's Lokazi. Thanks for joining me again. Here we have IMLosira versus Naniwa here in the upper bracket of MLG Columbus 2011. IMLosira spawning in as the blue Zerg in the, 7 o'clock position here on Testbug, and Naniwa as the red Protoss here in the 3 o'clock position on Testbug. Now, Testbug is a 2-player map with 3 starting locations, so you can scout the wrong direction, but you can only scout the wrong direction and you know where the person is. And this, of course, being the upper bracket, means that these are players who were seated at the end of the pool play. They do have a chance of staying in. They will get knocked down to the lower bracket, but they can come back for the finals games here. And there's 2 sets of games here in the upper bracket. We have IMLosira versus Naniwa and MMA versus Idra, and the winners of those will go on to face each other, and then the losers of those series will go into the lower bracket where they have a chance to climb their way out of, and whoever climbs their way out of the loser bracket will face MMA for second. So we'll have to see. And we have Pool Extractor at, looks like it was 14, and then droning back to 14. So also a fan, much like Moon, of picking up the Extractor and the spawning pool before their expansion hatch rate, as it's just way easier to not get punished. Because if you expand, they can always put some cannons there, delay your expansion, or even kill it without the Zerglings there to take out the probe. Naniwa, really not a cannon rushing type of player though, so probably would have been safe to pick up that expansion. We have a cybernetic score gang up next to the gateway here at the front, which will easily be blocked off by 1 Zeal. In the meantime, Naniwa has his probe patrolling here at the bottom of the ramp. He is going to run up into IMLosira's base, scout around, see, you pulled your drones off, you pull your drones off your gas, and there's some Zerglings coming. I'm just going to head home. So that's what he does. So now IMLosira is free to expand behind this, and expansion going down here for IMLosira right now. Just floating over 300 minerals there. There we go. Queen out, putting an inject down, and it looks like it's positioning itself towards the front. Not really sure why. My guess is that the creep tumor is next if he leaves it out there. Naniwa dropping a pylon down here. And the scouting probe of IMLosira does die to a stalker who is actually blocking. And it looks like Naniwa is going to 1 gate fast expand, which I don't think I've seen on such a small map. Very interesting. Now, it is possible to punish Naniwa for this type of play with a few Zerglings. Speed just finished, so a few Zerglings can actually really mess this up. But Naniwa is putting down more gateways. It's going to be able to wall this pretty well, and the really odd thing actually about Testbug is it has such a tiny distance from the bottom of your ramp to this nexus. It actually only takes 2 buildings, like, very easily to block it, and a forge going down behind that. So now in order to get in, the Zerglings will have to run around like this and through these 2 stalkers, and 1 force field will actually block right in front of the stalkers too. So this pressure out of IMLosira that is coming up is going to be very interesting to see whether or not this actually does damage. And IMLosira is going in for it. It looks like a force field needs to be put down here. Running in, kind of tickling these stalkers. No force field going down. There's a force field. And 2 Zeals being warped in on the other side of the force field. And all those Zerglings picked up for nothing. Really, they did 60 points of HP damage on one stalker, 4 on the other, and it is now pretty much entirely safe. Really solid defense there by Naniwa. We have an Overlord position down here at the southern part of Losira's base. We have a Stargate, actually, very MC-esque, coming out of Naniwa here. He will be using the Stargate to deny the third of the Zerg, which is actually already up. Losira expanded fairly quickly behind that because he did not have anything on gas for quite a long time there. He was actually using a little bit of a Spanishiwa style build there and droning really hard behind that. So he's actually in a good position. After losing all those Zerglings, he's still way ahead on Harvesters. He's going to have a little bit of a rough time defending against this Void Ray, however, as his third base does not have creep connecting to it. All the Overlords out on the field immediately being recalled back home. So this one in the far north. And this Void Ray is going to see what it can pick off, which might be this Void Ray, or this Overseer, Overlord, and that might be it. I'm not really seeing any type of reaction. There was already an Evolution Chamber down. There is a Spore Crawler going up at the expansion of Losira, but that's it. Oh, there's one at the third. But really, 2 Spore Crawlers. It's pretty light. Kind of a light defense. Queen is out on the field, chilling here near the Spore Crawler. Driving away this Void Ray and past the Real Men Drill Deep sign. That's interesting. There are 2 Phoenixes out on the field here. Losira getting good scouting information with those Zerglings. This last Overlord, which was trying to make its last desperate jump across, looks like it's going to get taken out. There's now up to 3 Phoenixes. Spore Crawler being moved up, actually. Which is an interesting choice. Another Overlord falling. Probably another one after that, actually. And another one after that. Wow. So like 5 Overlords have been killed here by Naniwa, which almost pays for this. It actually kind of does. It made a bunch of queens need to be produced. And looks like it's about to pick off a queen. Oh my goodness, that Phoenix had 2 HP before it got backed up. So close. And Losira pumping out a bunch of roaches now. Looks like he's going to go apply some pressure of his own here in just a minute. Queen's starting to creep to spread it from the third to the natural. A macro hatch being dropped by Losira. +1 melee attack is about to finish. And roach speed being upgraded. 3rd and 4th gases just taken. 5th and 6th being produced. We have a little bit of light harassment again here out of Naniwa. Picking off some drones here. It's like about 8, 9 drones picked off there before backing up. Spore Crawler rerouting right here next to the Void Ray, which is going to cause it to get backed up. Can't actually see over the top of this ledge, I don't think, which is, oh, I think it can, if it's being shot at by a Void Ray right there. Not 100% sure though, kind of interesting. Group spread heading out toward the middle of the map. In the meantime, Naniwa has +1 down on his ground forces and is clearing these destructible rocks. And there are no Zerglings out on the field to take advantage of that +1, which was just finished for Losira. So that's kind of interesting. We have Tunneling Claws and Burrow finishing up for Losira, and Groove Spines actually going down, which means a Hydra Roach push coming up here in just a few minutes from Losira. Spire being put down on the field. Really everything being picked up by Losira here. He's cleared his way for his 4th base, which would be a gold expansion over here on the left hand side. And it looks like this Void Ray has been reduced to creep tumor clearing duty. So you see it is queued up to take out these 3 creep tumors. Looks like the queens are not happy about this and they're moving out on the field. One queen being picked up. Two queens being picked up. Looks like it's going to get this front one. Yes, it picks off the front one. And we have a phoenix going down. And actually being microed to try and take out that observer, but it does not quite do so. So 3 queens going down for 1 phoenix out here in the middle. Not a good exchange for Losira. We have a lot of zerglings, a lot of roaches. We have an almost, well, it is pretty much a max supply army for the Zerg player. It's about to hit Naniwa, and it should be a pretty good clash here. We have +1/+1 for the Protoss player's army. We have +0/+0 and +1 melee attack here. And they look like they're going to go try and flank these Colossus. But this running around in circles is not working out well for the Zerglings. They all get roasted by these Colossus. They do get a bunch of force fields baited, but there are 5 sentries, almost all of whom have full energy. Only one of them actually used up its force fields worth of energy. So, luring back to this small choke area, great force fields put out by Naniwa, preventing most of an arc actually going down from Losira, boxing up, looks like 5 roaches here in the front, which are just going to get eaten by these Colossus, lifting off a few more roaches, and a large army discrepancy emerging here as Naniwa clears through, it looks like about 40 supply of Losira for pretty much no losses. Very, very close to no losses. The remaining roaches burrowing and just getting away to heal up. We now have Corruptors, Hydralisks, Zerglings, and Roaches out on the field. And they are actually going to be much better suited to this upcoming encounter versus these Colossus, of which there are now 4. Fairy and a 5th actually being produced. +1 flyer attack, +2 ranged attack, +1 ground armor. Researching here for Losira. And it looks like he saw the Protoss player coming and is trying to go for a surround here. Really big arc out of Losira here, getting and surrounding the entire Protoss army, and it looks like all these Corruptors are doing their job, but they are not focusing down the Colossus. They're actually fighting a Void Ray there for a minute, and the ground army might actually get cleared up. So all of the Colossus falling, but the ground army of Naniwa does manage to live. Quite a few Stalkers make it out of there, and 1 sentry that is kind of beat up with enough energy for 1 force field. Losira looks like he's rebuilding Zergling Hydralisk, which is a really powerful combination when there is no Colossus out on the field, so that's great because there's only 1. Naniwa in the meantime has expanded to this weird little nook area that is his 3rd. His 4th is coming up, and he is trying to keep this presence out here in the middle, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to fend off this force of all these Zerglings, which actually back up right before the force fields are dropped. So he loses a few roaches and quite a few, almost all the Zerglings actually, but does not really lose very many Corruptors. I think he lost like maybe 1. Relatively good exchange. Well, relatively not bad exchange for the force fields and the bad engagement spot. Really here on Testplug, there's a lot of like weird little doodads that really seem to favor Protoss. Look at this. Just boxes them right in. Zerglings going for this round there. Lots of corruption being put down on the front lines of the Stalkers, and the Zerglings just ripping through those front lines of Stalkers. Look how fast that drops with all that corruption down. And the Hydra is forcing back all these Stalkers, shooting and moving. Naniwa pulls back to his expansion, his natural expansion. Immortal out in front, getting just ripped to shreds by all these Hydras. And it's going to come down to a really close fight between these Hydralisks and the Stalkers, and it looks like the Stalkers are going to win with this reinforcement round from the north by Naniwa, and the Stalkers are just better. Well, actually, they're now similarly upgraded. Losira catching up on upgrades, even though he was behind earlier. +3 just finished for Naniwa, but it might be too little too late as the Stalkers are forced back into his natural. And these Corruptors are actually helping out quite a bit with this corruption. And Hydra's DPS is just way too much. Without any Colossus to clear him up, I do not think Naniwa is going to be able to hold off this force. And it looks like Losira is literally just streaming Hydras and Zerglings across the map, trying to expand his creep as fast as possible towards Naniwa's base. It has already reached, actually, the tower of Naniwa. And this force out here in the middle is pretty deadly. It looks like it's going to go ahead and move up and crush these expansions of Naniwa to try and cut down on the income, so it's not quite as big of a disparity. Blink Stalker Micro going down here by Naniwa, losing one Stalker in that engagement, picking off two Hydralisks, and he's able to hold at the top of the ramp as well. Zerglings engaging at those cannons and being picked off. And amazingly, Naniwa is actually holding. Hydra's starting to poke at this natural expansion. Just wow, look at those probes explode so fast with this Hydra damage. And a good concave getting out for Losira out here in the middle. Zerglings now forming up the rear of these Hydralisks, and they are going to be able to surround. Oh, a good blink right there. Losira not being baited into it though. He knows if he engages right there, the Zerglings are going to pair up against all of the Hydras, or the Zerglings are going to pair up against the Zeals, and that is not going to work out well for him. Just keeping that constant pressure on, being very patient. Losira here taking out the expansion of Naniwa, taking down one of the mining bases and ripping through the probes as they scoot by. DigitasNaniwa calling FF, I'm sure that was meant to be GG, and leaving the game as Losira just constantly streaming and keeping near max with 200 across the map off 4 bases. Really laying on the pressure there with those Hydralisks. He minimized and took out the entire, well, I guess took out the entire Colossus count there in the middle in one sweeping engagement, and then just kept the pressure on constantly, not letting those Colossus numbers get back up. With the Corruptors out on the field, there was no point building just one Colossus. It would get taken out instantly, and the backbone of the army was gone, not able to take out the Hydralisks. No tier 3 units, no Storms, no Templar, no Colossus on the field. Naniwa forced back into his natural and losing it. So very good game out of Losira there. Really impressive to watch that play, especially because Naniwa took the entire MLG last time by losing like 2 games in the very end, and he still would have 2 sets of games after this in order to clinch, there we go, the championship for MLG Columbus. So that was game 1. See you guys for game 2. This was Lokazi casting for you.